Hello and welcome to Draft Brothers, a Champions Round podcast. I am your host, Jeff Hasley, and I am joined by my draft brother, Dan Turner. And this week here, if you're unsure about this draft class of quarterbacks, you're not the only one. We're going to break down those quarterback prospects with our man of the hour guest, the one and only John Laub. And John works for Football Diehards. He's also the co-host of the Rookie Big Board podcast. If you like the draft, you got to check that out as well. John, we're excited to hear your thoughts and your insights about this year of this class of quarterbacks. Welcome to Draft Brothers.
Oh, thanks for having me. I had the pleasure of meeting Jeff over the summer at the Fantasy Football Expo. That was amazing to get to say hello. I'm going this year to Canton again, so anyone watching, if you see me out there, say hello. It's awesome time. And, this is my 10th year doing my profile series for the Football Diehards. And this is the 7th year that I've done a video series on the rookie class. 4th year with my partner, Matt, on the Rookie Big Board. And I had done, what do we used to call it? The NFL Draft Profiles with Andy Singleton for 3 years before that. So, I feel really good about this draft class. But, Jeff, you are right. This is one of the most difficult quarterback classes that I've had to break down in my 10 years doing it on paper. I've been watching quarterbacks for 40 years, but I only want to go, it's only fair for me to talk about what I put on paper and in print. My thoughts about Andrew Luck and RG3 doesn't count. No one knew but me.
All right. Well, excellent. Before we get into the questions here, I just want to mention and make known, if you like sports and playing sporting games, download the Champions Round app. Get playing and start winning. And make sure that you use the promo code DraftBros for a free $10. And check out our newest game mode, Spicy Slips. If you love live sports gaming, the NBA, or you just want some extra action this NFL offseason, come play Spicy Slips. Build a 2 to 5 leg parlay of live props and win big today. All right, let's get into this. Let's talk about our quarterbacks.
I love that. Dude, that's great.
All right, John, let's start off with your ranking, okay? I guess because that's what most people want to know. How do you rank, let's just say, the top 4 quarterbacks in this class? And is there any change or difference if we're talking about dynasty rankings?
Great questions. I'm going to go from 4 to 1 to keep the suspense a little bit better for those who are watching. At my number 4, and please, after I give them, ask me any questions and we'll talk about how you want to proceed. But number 4 is Hendon Hooker, quarterback coming out of Tennessee. Number 3 is Anthony Richardson, young man coming out of Florida. Number 2 is Bryce Young out of Alabama, the former Heisman winner. And number 1 is C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, the young man who just led the Buckeyes into the playoffs, but has lost back-to-back to Michigan. Sorry, Buckeye fans. Those are my top 4 quarterbacks in the 2021 draft class.
How about that? And one person that seems to be missing from that rankings, this kind of let's do a segue into your question here, Dan.
All right.
Because I know that you want to talk about this person, and that being Will Levis.
Right. So John is the first person I've heard from that doesn't have Levis in the top, 3 or 4 guys. So the question is, I've seen him going as high as 4th to the Colts in this draft. Yet he has some glaring red flags to me that make him more of, closer to a 4th round prospect than the number 4 overall. Do you think Levis deserves to be going as high as he's going in some mock drafts, and why or why not?
Well, there's no question that he doesn't deserve to be the 4th overall player off the board. Right now, in my model and my film analysis, and I weigh him about 50-50. I'm pretty, I like both. I think I've been better with my model as I built it over the 10 years and more confident in the model than I was when I started. And I think my film analysis also gotten better. I have Will Levis at number 5. The only reason that I can see him being rated in the top 2 or in the top 4 overall picks, you are banking on ceiling. I get it. But what are the odds of the young man hitting his ceiling? What we have, we know that first-round draft pick quarterbacks historically are about a 50% failure rate. I mean, just think. I was thinking about this. Think about the Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota draft class. Where are they now? Think about Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. Where are they now? They're not even with the teams that drafted them. So we know massive mistakes happen on draft analysis. Second of all, everything's going to have to be in place. He's going to have 2 great receivers. He's going to need an offensive line. He's going to need a running game and a coaching staff that understands how to coach him up. That is a very difficult, perfect storm of fantasy goodness to bank on. What everyone's going to tell you, obviously, the low-hanging fruit is Josh Allen. Oh, he's Josh Allen. Look it. I made a mistake. I had Allen, I think, 4 coming out that year, coming from Wyoming. He didn't pop in my model, and I didn't love his film at Wyoming. I have to be honest. It's not I had a 2nd-round grade, but he has literally hit coaching staff, wide receivers, system. Everything went right for Josh Allen. And yes, the young man has obviously improved himself also. Will Levis has some very concerning red flags. Here's why I watch film and games live. I want to see how the quarterback takes command of the huddle. How many timeouts do they have to have? Is he yelling at the coaches in his headset? What's his reaction on the sideline when he comes off the field? How does he talk to players who drop balls on 3rd and 9 and he hits them right in the chest and they drop it? How does he react to adversity in the game? And you know what? Will Levis does not come out good in any of those standards. Watch the game, the whole game, not the highlights, not the 22 of Will Levis. I'm a big believer. I take notes as the game progresses. Now, of course, I go back in November or December and January and break down for certain. What is his footwork like? Is he throwing outside the hash marks as much as I thought? There are still things I need to look, but game notes matter. And Will Levis has 2 huge red flags. I don't want to jump too far ahead because you have a great question that I will address later. But I'm into football intelligence, and there's 2 facts and 2 stats. I don't go by subjective. I try to match intelligence with objective numbers. 2 numbers that all I care about for football intelligence: turnovers, and I want passing efficiency. Will Levis, in his touchdown to interception ratio, is a disaster. 46-25. I'm looking for a 3-to-1 ratio. He doesn't even have 2-to-1. You can blame the people around him, but a quarterback's job is to transcend the talent around them. People, name wide receivers that John Elway had in the late 1980s, folks. Not the Super Bowl winning ones when they lost 3 straight. The great quarterbacks make average receivers great. Will Levis didn't do that. Don't give me excuses anymore. 2, his passing efficiency. I'm looking at a baseline of 155. Now, we can discuss if the passing efficiency is the best number. We can look into the mathematics, but here's the deal. Over the period of 10 years, the higher the passing efficiency, the more likely the quarterback has the chance of replicating it in the NFL level. Of course, it doesn't always happen. That's life. I'm looking for 155. Will Levis is 145.6. He's 9.4 points below the benchmark in an era that is passing friendly. So, and we are talking about a passing friendly college game. We're talking about a quarterback who has not hit those benchmarks, which I categorize as football IQ. Now, he's smart in the classroom. He had like a 4.0 GPA. He's also got 2 degrees. So it's not a question of intelligence, but I care about fantasy. I care about football IQ. I mean, hey, I'm happy. I'm proud. I'm a teacher. I'm proud that he's got 2 degrees. But that doesn't mean you don't throw interceptions against Alabama. Now, let's look at the good, because it's only fair since I'm giving you all the negative. And I'm just trying to put it in totality. 32 games played. I like that. I'm convinced. My model, I should have liked Brock Purdy. My model liked him, but I was too subjective on the analysis and having seen him play at Iowa State. And now looking back, it's the Iowa State offense. But there's one thing that I'm pretty convinced, and Shanahan obviously helped him. I get all that. I get that he has great players. I get that. But there's one thing he did. He played 47 games at Iowa State. What does that tell me? He had enough experience to step into an NFL huddle and understand the game of football. So Will Levis has 32. My benchmark is 30. Levis exceeds it. Not as much as Purdy, but at least he makes it there. We have to look at rushing equity. Rushing upside. Will Levis, 742 career yards. That's nice. Now, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Kyler Murray, but that is more than good. And he had a 14% in his highest season rushing total of the offense. And you can't argue with the arm strength and the size. So I get what they're seeing, but when I grade a quarterback, I look at ceiling, I look at reality, and then I look at floor. And I have to balance all three of those. So I have a second-round pick. And the reason I start out with the negative, if you're not looking at the floor of Will Levis, you're not doing quarterback analysis correctly, because you must consider that he ends up in a bad organization with a poor quarterback coach, and he ends up with a defensive guy on the other side of the field, right? All disasters for a young man trying to quarterback in the NFL.
Wow, John. Wow. I just want to say wow, because that's like the most intelligent, most comprehensive, helpful,
thorough answer
thorough
I've heard for
breakdown that I've heard about Will Levis. I haven't heard anything like that about Levis, so I applaud you. And everyone who just listened to that, go back and listen to it again, because that was outstanding.
I'm going to clip that and use it as my answer. Anytime everyone loves Levis, just listen to this for about 6 minutes. This is your answer.
And I'll just say this: when I'm not stupid, I look around and you said he's mocked at number 4. So if I'm going to say what I do, I better have some answers to why I believe I have a low ranking. And if someone disagrees with me, that's fine. And obviously the NFL seems to disagree with me. But I'm all right with my stance on Will Levis. I feel like I've done my homework. I've watched him, and I would never spend the 4th round pick on him. There's just no way. I'm not in a look.
So John, I also want to stress that at this particular time last year, people were talking about Malik Willis being a top 10-ish pick. And I remember we spoke, and you were so far against him, and you kind of gave the same argument of, the pros and the cons, and there were just way more cons than pros. And so you've got some credentials there, or some street cred, I guess we should say, in that regard. Not that you didn't have it before, but just the fact that you got that right, it's, we see what's coming.
So let's look at, I have my numbers right here. Malik Willis last year, 23 games played. Brock Purdy, 48. And that was the difference in their ability to call the play in the huddle and make smart decisions. I'm convinced of it. Willis needed. That was so unfortunate for that young man not to be able to sit, because he was not even close to being ready. Oh, my God. I felt bad for the young man at times, because he was just so over his head.
Yeah. Well, but you hit it, though, and I just wanted to mention that. All right, so my question, and next question here is, speaking of that last year's class, how would you compare this class to last year? Kenny Pickett, of course, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, who we haven't seen yet, really, Willis, Bailey Zappi, and of course, Brock Purdy. How would you compare this class to that class? Is that even a fair question?
No, it's not a bad question, but I'll say this. This year's stronger. Now, the Brock Purdy, Bailey Zappi are like X factors, right? We don't really know yet where they're going to be. Will Zappi ever get another chance in New England, or will he end up in another franchise with the opportunity? I'm not sure yet. Will Brock Purdy, now we got the injury, which throws, a monkey wrench in him. I hope he's healthy. He definitely deserves an opportunity. But I'll say this, Pickett, I would have a really hard time with Anthony Richardson versus Kenny Pickett. There's no way Pickett is ranked ahead of Stroud and Bryce Young. Not even close. I would need to sit down for a long time and think about Richardson versus Pickett. Now, my guess, and that's a great question. If I had to do it, you said, John, it's a $150,000 reward or you pay $50,000. I would have to go Pickett because my model says he has a higher floor and he can quarterback in the league right away. Richardson's ceiling is off the hook. However, he has a Will Levis floor too. This is what I've been saying to everyone. Anthony Richardson is Cam Newton and Tim Tebow rolled into one. And I can't tell you which side of the equation he's going to come out on. He's as inaccurate as Tim Tebow. Look at the numbers, folks. Yes, he has a cannon. I get it. He's physically gifted. But there's a chance he's Tim Tebow at the NFL level. And if you don't see that, you haven't watched enough quarterback play. Get off the highlights. Watch the game. Anthony Richardson has a lot of learning. Here's what scares the living hell out of me. He's only quarterbacked 19 games. Let me repeat that. He has less games than Malik Willis. Games and experience matter. How do you study? How do you overcome adversity? How do you interact with your teammates? I'll be a little bit nerdy. Why did I like Jalen Hurts so much? I go all the way back to Hurts, 56 career games. I had him at rank number 4 coming out. And I'm not, anyone does their rankings, it's fine. I saw Jalen Hurts outside the top 10 by national media scouts. And I saw legitimate NFL people last year say the Eagles should draft another quarterback. Let's stop this waxing poetically. Most of you people had no idea that Jalen Hurts was any good. None. I got the receipts. I have him in my dynasty leagues. He was sitting there in the 3rd round. I have Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts on a dynasty team. He was sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, the 3rd round, no one's going to take him. I have no option. I have to take Jalen Hurts. Don't go and rewrite history, folks. But he popped in the model. Plus, I had seen him. Do you guys even watch film? Like, I really think some of these people don't even watch the game tape. And here's the thing that I don't understand. Did you never do homework? Every Alabama teammate, coaching staff, Oklahoma teammate, Oklahoma coaching staff, you know what they all said about Jalen Hurts? He's the best leader they've ever seen. What has everyone said about Jalen Hurts in the last 4 weeks? He's the best. Did you not? How are you on TV telling me he's ranked number 9? He can't play in the NFL, and 3 years later you're waxing poetically about him. Please, do your homework. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. I've been wrong on people. I was wrong on Josh Allen. It's fine, but don't rewrite history. Most of you wanted him out of Philadelphia last year.
Oh man, John, I love you, man. You're awesome. So I want to kind of switch things up a little bit, go off script. I tend to do that, and it seems to
anarchy.
work.
Anarchy around here.
Yeah, we have not really talked about Bryce Young, or CJ Stroud at all. So can you break those guys down? And what's the difference between the two? What will our viewers really like to hear and know about those two?
So here's fascinating because they are razor thin differences. You look at the numbers. I'm trying to get it right on the screen. You look at the numbers in the model, and the two of them, the differences are razor thin. Just some ideas how close the numbers are. Stroud, 25 games. Bryce Young, 27. It's pretty incredible. 69.3% completion for Stroud, 65.8. That's fine. They both exceed my benchmark. Here's where they are football savants. CJ Stroud, 85 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions. Bryce Young, 80 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions. Those are numbers off the chart would tell me they're football smart. I don't care about they're football smart. This number, CJ Stroud's passing efficiency is 182.4. Bryce Young's is 165. Now, I'm not going to, when you exceed my benchmark by over 10 points, it's like passing the DMV, getting your driver's license. Doesn't matter if you made it by 1 point or 40. You got your damn license, right? So I don't care when you're 10 points above my benchmark. It don't matter. That's a reflection of the scheme and the teammates and the talent around you. So they both exceed it. Now, where are they fantasy kind of, I got to be concerned. They don't have a lot of rushing yards. CJ Stroud, 136. Bryce Young, 162. Neither one's going to get a ton. I do think they athletically have some upside, but I'm looking at maybe 250 with 3 touchdowns as maybe their peak. They're not going to get the 450 to 500, rushing yards. I think Stroud has a better deep arm. I think Young is better in the middle of the field and better at the medium and short routes, if that makes sense. So if I'm looking for more of a vertical passing game, I'm probably going to take CJ Stroud. Now, it doesn't mean that Stroud can't throw medium. That's not what I'm trying to say. But Stroud just has that effortless, unbelievable, zip the ball 40 yards, 50 yards down the field on a dime. Young, if you want someone to just carve up the defense from 10 to 20 yards between the hash marks and on the outside, oh, man, Young can eat you up all day long. If you don't get pressure on him and you allow those long crossing patterns or you allow your tight end to find a hole in the middle, Bryce Young's going to kill you on that. So when I look at these two, why do I have Stroud ranked higher than Young? I hate to say it. I'm a sizist. I'm sorry. Find me a quarterback as small as Bryce Young. He's smaller than Drew Brees. He's smaller than Russell Wilson. He's listed at 194. He might not even be 194. I think, remember when Devontae Smith didn't weigh in at the combine? I don't think Bryce Young's going to get on the scale. Why would you put him on the scale if you're his agent? You're not going to put him on the scale. What if he comes in at 189? Like that, right? I don't think he's 6 feet. He's not. I have a very good friend who interviewed Bryce Young last summer at one of the, those Manning camps. It might have been the Manning camp, but I forget which one. He stood right next to Bryce Young, and he says, John, there's no way he's 6 feet. I'm 6'2", and he's not even close. Stroud is listed at 6'3", 215. I expect him to be in the ballpark, 6'2", 212, right? He's going to be real close. So if I'm looking at these two passers at this level, and I'm talking about my franchise, my coaching staff, winning and losing, I've got to go with the quarterback who has the physical frame to take the NFL pounding. Now, if Tua Tagovailoa could stay healthy, I think he could be unbelievable. He can't stay on the field, folks. His frame and his body can't take the NFL. I mean, I feel so bad for the young man, but you just see the hits. His body isn't designed to get hit by a 300-pound lineman, right? It's just not going to work. He's not going to have a 10-year career. The body's not going to hold up. I'm sorry, but look, why is Josh Allen, Cam Newton, why are these guys so good? They're big. They're big. You know, even Daniel Jones with the Giants, he's big. And here's the thing about here, I'm going to go back again because I'm still so mad about this to this day. You go back to Jalen Hurts. Let me make sure. 6'1", 218. He's 218, Jalen Hurts. I talked about that the entire season of the draft. How are people not liking Jalen Hurts at 218? He's at least 20 pounds bigger than Bryce Young is, at least, if not more. So do I like Young? Yes. I think the young man, if he can stay healthy, I think he could have a very good, because I think his football IQ is off the charts. I just can't bet on that frame.
Yep. That's the biggest concern. And you hit it. You nailed it. All right. So you mentioned Hendon Hooker as your number 4 quarterback. Talk about him a little bit and some other day 2 quarterbacks that could surprise guys that you kind of have your maybe someone like that,
Absolutely.
What do you think?
So I've liked Hendon Hooker's film at Tennessee. It's not perfect, but it's good. There's no question the physical tools that he has. Also, my friends, if you don't think he's a leader, you better start listening to some interviews. Hendon Hooker is a very smart young man. He's very coherent. He is a likable person, and he has exceptional charisma. He is a very interesting young man. Now he's 25, so he's not. I'm old, so 25. I only dream of being 25 right now. But he's very, very smart and football savvy, and he has IQ and charisma off the charts. 2, he's 6'3", 208 pounds. Now, he doesn't look it, because I think Hendon Hooker has like that sprinter's body. I mean, it's just all muscle. I mean, I got a nice belly. I've had too many years of beer and pizza in my lifetime. Hendon Hooker, though, man, he must be eating fish and protein, because he doesn't look like he's got anything on him. He just is well-built frame. He also has the size to see over defensive linemen. He's played 42 games in college. And I know he's 25, and he's going to be 25 like by the time the season kicks off, if he's not already. I get it. But I'm not looking for 10-year starters. We're not going to get Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning. I'm looking at a 5-year window, maybe a 6-year window. Hooker's got 42 games. In my 6 benchmarks, Hendon Hooker is the only one who is 6 of 6 in this class. He hits every benchmark. He has a higher passing efficiency rating than Bryce Young. This number I'm in love with, because it shows that he's taken deep shots. He averages 9.5 yards per attempt. 9.5. Anthony Richardson, this is a scary number for Richardson, it's only 7.9. He's averaging a full 1.5 yards on every. People tell me Hendon Hooker's inaccurate. They said the same thing about Jalen Hurts. All I know is the numbers: he completes 67% of his passes. I'll take that any day of the week. The numbers, stop your subjective analysis. The numbers are all that matters. He hits 67% of his passes. That's all I know. Here's the one that I'm most obsessive with. I've talked about it. Hendon Hooker, 80 career touchdowns, only 12 interceptions. That is off the charts intelligence. He doesn't turn the football over. And maybe I grew up in a different age with Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh, Joe Gibbs. What would get you benched? Turnovers at the quarterback position. If you don't turn the ball over, you can win. Hey, we can make the argument if Jalen Hurts doesn't fumble the football, they win the Super Bowl, right? I mean, that's one turnover, and he had a brilliant game. Fumbled once, Kansas City scores on it, game's different. So that's the whole story. Here's what's amazing. He has 2,079 rushing yards. 2,079. He has over 1,900 yards more on the ground than C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Oh, that is fantasy gold. His rushing equity, meaning the percentage of teams' rushing yards in his best season, was 22%. Here's the deal. Hendon Hooker's going to end up on the field of play. There's no question in my mind. And here's the thing. He can go out there and he can get 80 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns and complete 50% of his passes. And for fantasy, that's all I care about. And if we saw Trace McSorley and is it Todd Huntley, the quarterback for the Ravens, right?
Tyler.
Todd
Huntley was the catcher for the Mets.
Oh, the Mets or something, right? So, yeah. But we saw Huntley and Trace McSorley. Hendon Hooker is going to play in the NFL. He's going to get a shot on the field. And look at what Geno Smith just did. With good coaching, with good weapons around him. Hey, he's 30 years old, 31 years old. Geno Smith has proven that right now, yeah, it took forever. Geno Smith's made a lot of money. He's had a good career. He's starting for the Seahawks. Nothing wrong with that. Hendon Hooker is going to find his way on an NFL field. And if we're talking dynasty football, I'll just tell you this right now. I'm going to have 0 shares of Will Levis because I won't pay a first-rounder for him. And I'm probably going to end up with 4 shares of Hendon Hooker because if he's sitting there in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm just going to take him. I don't care. I can't sit a guy who can score 25 points in fantasy football like doing nothing but running the football. And he will get a shot because we know players get hurt. Players get hurt all the time, especially at the quarterback position. You need quarterbacks. Hendon Hooker is going to get a shot in the NFL.
Wow. Again, you hit it on the head right there. Any others that you wanted to mention just as like possibilities that could come to fruition?
I'm glad you asked and I forgot to answer it. So I'm sorry. I got a little thirsty and I blanked out there. If you're looking at a Bailey Zappi type player, it's Jake Haener of Fresno State. The only problem with Jake Haener is he doesn't run the football. He has minus 109 yards rushing in his college career. And if you know, sacks count against rushing yards in college. There's a different scoring system. But 109 is bad. Like, he's not going to get you anything with his legs. So what you're hoping, if Jake Haener gets a shot, you would need him in a system like Seattle where he just has Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, a good running game where he's just going to get volume and he's efficient at it. Because he is good. He has a 68-18 touchdown to interception ratio. So he hits my 3-to-1 benchmark. He has completed over 68% of his passes. I love that. And his passing efficiency is 156.2, which I like that. He exceeds my benchmark. What that tells me is if he gets on a team, he's either scout team or he's the 3rd quarterback. He's going to get a shot in the NFL at one time or the other. But I think he's got a Bailey Zappi ceiling. I think it just, the coaching staff, what he does with the opportunity. Now, there are 2 players who are interesting, and it's all going to depend on draft capital. Jaron Hall out of BYU, unfortunately, from all reports, he really stunk it up at the Senior Bowl. So my model kind of liked him, and I liked the BYU tape, but it was not good coming out of Mobile. So that kind of scares me a little bit. I want to hear more positive, especially at the quarterback position. And then the guy, will he get drafted? It's Stetson Bennett. Why he didn't go to Senior Mobile is beyond me. I don't get it. Yes, he's small, 5'11", and let's see what he is size-wise, 190. So that maybe he didn't want to get weighed. But Bennett, my model likes him. He doesn't have a ton of rushing, but he had 530 career rushing yards, Stetson Bennett. And if you watch Georgia, there were times they designed bootlegs and stuff like that near the goal line for him. So he does have some athleticism. He's not uber athletic, but he's more pocket mobile than given credit for. If he got into the 4th round, then I'm really interested. If he drops to the 7th or undrafted, obviously, or undrafted free agent, I'm probably out. But those are the 3 that I'm looking out for right now.
Well, that's it. That's a good list. And we appreciate your knowledge and, of course, coming on and helping us with this. One thing that we like to do at the end of the show is to kind of give like a quick understanding of a question that I'll ask, and I want to get your 10-15 second answer.
Okay.
And that question is, who's the best quarterback in this class? 2, 3, 4 years down the road, who's the best quarterback? We'll start with you, John.
I think it's CJ Stroud. He's the one most likely to be healthy, and he's the one who most likely can throw the football to all levels of the field successfully.
Dan?
I'm going to take Anthony Richardson.
Okay, you like that Cam Newton?
I
reference,
think
maybe.
because I agree
Tebow.
with John. I think that his floor isn't as good of a floor as the top guys, but his ceiling is right up there with them. And I think that he goes to a situation that takes advantage of what he can offer as a QB, and gets him ready for the pro game, and he hits the whatever ceiling he has. And I think 2, 3, or 4 years down the line, he ends up being the best one.
All right. Well, I want to take Bryce Young, but I just think that, man, if he's like 195, 5'10", he's going to get beat up by these
He's going to be
NFL
5'8".
defenses. So
he's going to be 5'8".
I'm off the Bryce Young train in this question, so I'm going to go with CJ Stroud as well. The best of what's available. I don't think he's going to move mountains, but I think he'll exceed the quarterbacks in this class. Now, could there be a Brock Purdy in this class? Yeah, absolutely there could. Maybe it's Hooker. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to go with Stroud. From what I know right now at this particular time as we head into draft season, that's my pick. All right. Well, very good. Thank you for tuning in. I want to say that. Thank you, John. We always appreciate you sharing your thoughts, your insights, of course. We appreciate your support. For those of you watching, please do us a favor. If you like the show, give us a like, subscribe, and comment. All that good stuff that helps us crush the algorithm. And don't forget, download the Champions Round app and use the free $10 bonus code. All right. Well, our next show, we're going to talk to Stephanie Stradley of the Houston Chronicle, and she's going to help us understand what the Texans might be doing with their number 2 pick. So we go back to the team focus here on our next show. So thank you, John. John, anything you want to say to kind of plug yourself a little bit more about the Rookie Draft Board? Guys, check that out. It's definitely Rookie Big Board, excuse me. Check that out. Where can people find you? That's at GridironSkull91 on Twitter. Anything else you want to plug for yourself?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on. I love talking NFL draft picks. It's been a pleasure to break these young men down tonight with you. And please go to YouTube, type in the Rookie Big Board channel, and you can check out. We do 4 players every week. By the end of Thursday, there'll be 8 players. We're our second week into it, Matt and I. But check us out. I love it. And we have all the numbers that I've talked about, and we breaking down the film analysis also.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it. And for you out there, your entertainment is our passion. We'll see you next time.